As Jim said, my name is John Heltzel. I'm a Arizona State licensed road grading and excavating contractor. I'm currently grading the roads at Woodland Valley, and I've done so on sporadic occasions since 2008. My wife Katie and I own 2 lots at Woodland Valley Ranch since 2007. I have a photo presentation on road grading in Woodland Valley as well as road grading in general. The board has developed a list of WVR roads they've termed A, B, and C roads. A roads are the roads that are used most frequently, B roads, secondary use roads, and C, least used roads. I was contracted in 2008 to grade 80 miles of C roads when it was determined that the contractor who had the whole ranch under contract would not be able to do all the work for various reasons. The C roads were in the worst condition of all the roads at the ranch, many of which had not been graded or serviced at all in 4 years. About a third of these roads were not roads any longer, completely overgrown with weeds and washed out, resembling the surrounding landscape more than a road. Essentially, in 2008, I graded only 80 miles of road. In 2009, I didn't do any road grading. In 2010, I did all of the roads in Woodland Valley Ranch. Most of the B and C roads were in terrible condition due to the heavy monsoon season. I'll be showing some photos of those roads. According to some of the old timers, the real old timers that have lived here all of their life, 2010 was the worst monsoon season they can remember in their lifetime here. I'd like to commend the board. They're all volunteers, and as volunteers, they're not paid for what they do, as Jim said. They get a lot of grief and not a whole lot of thanks. We really need to be thankful for what they do, and I'd like to ask all of you to join me in a round of applause for their service. Thank you very much. Please express your thanks to them personally, both past and present board members, regardless of who they are. They are due our gratitude for doing a tough job, and if you don't like what their decisions are, get involved and endeavor to help change things for the better. The problem with our roads is not how they're graded or by whom they're graded. The problem is the material. The presentation that I've compiled here is from documents that are easily available on the internet. You can go to this web link. And I do want to say there are some serious issues with how the road's been graded in the past. I'll address that later. I have a specific order the presentation is formatted in, and all the issues past, present, and future will be covered. If it isn't, at the end of the presentation, you'll be given an opportunity to address the board with your questions or myself. One of the main documents that I'll be referring to is this one. It's from the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration Maintenance and Design Manual of Roads. I have this document in its entirety here. It's 104 pages long. It's exhaustive. Anything you could ever want to know about maintaining a road or building a road, cross sections, ditches, sizes of ditches, widths of road, gradients, all that stuff is in there. So without further ado, what is a gravel road? People call them dirt, but unpaved roads are really gravel plus sand and clay. We have little rock and gravel and lots of sand and clay, the basis for all the problems we have at Woodland Valley Ranch. Material, or rather the document that I just showed you on the screen and held up has this quote in it. It says, the use of the grader to properly shape the road is obvious to almost everyone, but the quality and volume of gravel needed is not well understood. It seems that most gravel maintenance and rehabilitation problems are blamed on the grader operator when the actual problem is often material related. And that's the case of what we experience with our roads. Here's a block of wood with a chisel. You can form that into most anything you want. You can drop it, bang it around, it's pretty much going to retain its shape. Here we've got a block of cheese. It's a pretty uniform texture material, and you've cut through that, got a nice, clean, smooth surface. You can make most anything you wanted out of that, but it's better to eat. Here we have some Swiss cheese, and you can make something out of that if you want to. But just because you shape it, just because you cut it with a chisel or a knife or a grater, it's not going to change it into something that it isn't. It doesn't magically become something else just because you cut it. What you'll see here, we're putting a ditch in actually off the road. What I want to draw your attention to most in this photo is this right here. This has been cut through. Some people think that if you cut deep enough into this material, you're going to find something that's uniform, like a block of cheddar cheese, and it just isn't so. When we cut into this surface to scrape it or to move material across it back and forth, it looks like this with all these pits and holes in it. Here we're shaping the dirt and we're actually rolling it. You'll see some other photos similar to this later on. And so we end up with something like this. And then we have a dust storm. We have high winds like we got right now. And a week later, it starts to look like this. Oh, it's really got nothing to do with how it's shaped. It has everything to do with what it is you're shaping. The soil is soft, it's silty, it doesn't hold together. The real problem is lack of moisture. If we had some moisture to help hold things together, we'd have less problems. We do have problems with the soil. Again, at that web link, there's a link to this document about problem soils. It talks about clay soils, which we have here in the Colorado Plateau, as it's called. It's a very interesting article. If you can, take a look at that. Here, the photographer is intentionally trying to push down on this material so the white of his knuckles seen there. Right next to it, we have a soft spot. This right here may go down 6-8 inches or a foot. Regardless, it's hard here, it's soft here. It's not a uniform material. It's like Swiss cheese. I call this chiclets. When I was a kid, we used to buy at the grocery store this little packages of gum with these little tiny pieces of gum in it. We call it chiclets. And that's what this is. It's just soft stuff. This is hard. You see the cracks in this material here as this is after the grater has gone through. Here we've got a real sandy area. Now when this is wet, it holds together pretty good. And there is clay in that material, and the clay actually helps to stabilize it. So when it gets wet, you can drive across that and you have no problem at all. Right now, you get stuck in that. We've cleaned that area out as well as a couple other areas around the ranch twice this year. In this particular area, there's a mound of sand about as high as this ramada of material we've taken off. You can't grade it. You can make it look nice and smooth. You can roll it. First time you drive across it, it looks like this again. Here we've got some hard clay. This actually got wet, and as it dried, you get these cracks that develop. And this is what's really responsible for all those pits that you saw in some of the other photos. There's a lot of areas on the ranch right now that are so sandy and so dry and so silty. If you're pulling a trailer and you don't have four-wheel drive, you're not going to get through there. And it's got nothing to do with how it's graded. It's just the material itself. It's not good material for a road. In the background here, this is Rosie Road. This is a wash that actually crosses the road up in here somewhere. All of this material that you see that's caved off happened in one rain. It's not all monsoon. This is just one rain. Our road material is really no different. This is a big problem. These winds that we're having right now, April, we typically have high winds here. But we've had high winds through May and now into June like we're experiencing right now. I heard it's supposed to be wind gusts of 50 miles per hour today. It really does a number on our roads. This here is what a lot of people commonly call blow sand. It's not really sand at all. It's just this stuff right here, which is broken up, and actually the wind flows this way. That's why it's piled up this way. Somebody last year said that you need to angle the blade of the grater so that it puts this material onto the road. And what he's talking about is grading the road deeper and deeper and deeper all the time is not a good thing because our roads become canals. So at some point we have to do something to build the road up, but we cannot put this soft stuff on the road. It's just going to blow back over here anyway, or create some of the problems that you saw here with these really sandy areas. So this material, which you can see here, it's like sugar. There's nothing to hold it together. And the real issue with this stuff is if you took this material and put it in a coffee can and added water to it and shook it up some, it'd become just as hard as the other material. So there's really no difference between this soft stuff and the hard stuff. The difference is this is just dried out and blown away. Here we're scraping it off the road. It has to be removed from the road before we can actually start to shape the road. Again, because you can't put the material on the road, it'll just blow away, or it'll create a problem from actually putting it on.